Picture this. Your two kids are in the back seat. Nobody is touching anybody, nobody has said a word, and somehow it's already a problem. The sighing, the pointed looks, the invisible line down the middle of the seat that must never be crossed. You glance in the rearview mirror and you think, these two share a bedroom, share a bathroom, share parents who love them equally. Why does it feel like they can barely stand each other? And here's the question underneath that question, the one you don't say out loud. Is this just what siblings do? Or is this what they're always going to be? Here's what most parents don't realize. The answer isn't determined by your children's personalities. It's not written in their genes. It's not fate. The sibling bond, how strong it becomes, how deep it goes, whether it lasts, is largely shaped by something happening in their brains right now. Something you have far more influence over than you think. Neuroscientists who study social development have found something that should change how every parent thinks about sibling conflict. Your children's brains are constantly categorizing the people in their lives, not consciously, automatically, at the neural level. And the category that matters most isn't friend or enemy. It's something more fundamental. Safe or threat. Resource or rival. And here's the critical part. How the brain encodes a sibling, as ally or as competition, gets shaped early. And once that pattern is reinforced enough times, it becomes the default lens through which they see each other for years. So the question isn't, how do I stop them fighting? The real question is, what am I accidentally teaching their brains about each other? Let's start with the mechanism behind most sibling conflict that nobody talks about. Scarcity. Not of toys, not of space, of you. When children sense, even unconsciously, that parental love and attention are limited resources, something shifts in how they relate to each other. Their sibling stops being a companion and starts being a competitor. And a brain in competition mode doesn't cooperate. It protects, it attacks, it keeps score. This is why sibling rivalry almost always intensifies after a new baby arrives, or during periods when a parent is less available. The kids aren't just acting out, they're responding to a threat signal their nervous system has detected. Here's what this means practically. The single most powerful thing you can do to build a strong sibling bond has nothing to do with how you manage your children together. It's about how consistently each child feels seen and secure with you individually. Attachment research from the University of Minnesota shows that children with secure parental attachment show significantly lower levels of sibling aggression, not because they fight less, but because they don't need to. When a child's nervous system isn't in scarcity mode, it can afford to be generous. It can afford to share. It can afford to root for someone else. Now, here's where most parents make the mistake without ever knowing it. When you say things like, your sister never leaves her stuff lying around, or your brother managed to do this without complaining, you think you're motivating. But here's what's actually happening inside your child's brain. The comparison activates the same neural threat circuitry as a direct attack. Their brain registers, I am being measured against this person. I might lose. And the sibling, who did nothing, suddenly gets linked to that feeling of inadequacy. Over hundreds of these moments, the neural association calcifies. My sibling makes me feel like I'm not enough. That's not something you can easily undo with a family meeting. It's been encoded at the level of automatic response. So the alternative isn't just to stop comparing. It's to actively build each child's sense of distinct, unconditional worth. Not better than, just genuinely, specifically, irreplaceably themselves. There's something else the research points to that most parenting advice completely misses. Conflict itself isn't the enemy of a strong sibling bond. Unrepaired conflict is. Studies on adult sibling relationships consistently show that the strongest bonds aren't between siblings who rarely fought. They're between siblings who learned how to come back to each other. That repair skill, the ability to rupture and reconnect, is what actually builds resilience into a relationship. And it has to be taught. Children don't arrive knowing how to do it. So when your kids fight, the most important moment isn't the argument, it's what happens after. If you step in and resolve it for them, you rob them of the chance to build that repair muscle. But if you stay close enough to guide them through it, what do you actually need right now? What do you think your brother was feeling? You're building something that will outlast childhood. You're teaching them that this relationship is worth coming back to. That's not a small thing. That's the architecture of a lifelong bond. Here's something that gets almost no attention: shared memory. Neuroscience research on group identity shows that the brain builds a sense of belonging through accumulated shared experiences, especially ones with emotional weight. The camping trip where everything went wrong, the inside joke that's been running for 3 years, the time they stayed up too late together and got in trouble. These aren't just fun moments, they're neural glue. They create a we that exists independently of you. Most parents try to build sibling closeness by managing their children's relationship, but shared experience builds it organically. Put them in situations where they have to navigate something together, something slightly challenging, something that requires them to depend on each other. Let them figure it out. The bond that forms from that is far sturdier than anything a conversation can create. And then there's the model you're providing without realizing it. Your children are watching how you handle conflict in every relationship you have, with your partner, with your own siblings, with people who frustrate you. Mirror neurons don't distinguish between lessons that are directed at them and lessons that are just happening in front of them. If they see you repair a tense moment with kindness, they absorb that. If they hear you speak generously about people who have disappointed you, they absorb that too. Family culture isn't what you announce, it's what they observe. Here's the truth about sibling love that the research keeps returning to. It isn't a feeling that children either have or don't have. It's a capacity that gets developed or doesn't, based on whether the conditions are there. Security, individuality, repair, shared identity, a model to follow. These aren't complicated. They don't require a perfect family or a perfect parent. They require consistency and intention in the ordinary moments. Your children might spend their whole lives taking each other for granted. Most close siblings do. They'll bicker over nothing, they'll occasionally say things that sting, but underneath all of it, there will be something solid, something they built together, with your help, across thousands of unremarkable moments. That's what you're actually building right now. Not perfect harmony. Something more durable than that. A bond that holds even when life gets hard. And the time to build it is not later. It's the next time they're in that backseat.